Hello beautiful people, Joe here from Pictoria. Thanks for taking a couple minutes to check out this video. If you are watching this video, you know that this video is one of a series of videos about your career and how I can give you advice and help you not to make the mistakes that I made during my time in the corporate workplace. Today's topic is some of the classic interview questions that you may have when you go on a job interview. So we're going to go over 3 of them today, and then at the end of the video we're going to do some general knowledge stuff, but this actually could be a series. So what I want you to do is in the comments section add some of the questions that you've gotten on job interviews that you think maybe I could answer for you, and I'll do another video about those. To keep the video, within a reasonable amount of time, I'm just going to do like 3. All right, so when you go on a job interview, the first question they might ask you when you arrive at the interview is, did you have any trouble finding the place? And you might think that this is small talk, actually, by someone just bringing you to the room or something, or maybe the first person you meet in the formal interview, they might say, so did you have any trouble finding the place? You should consider this as the very first interview question. And the correct answer to this is, nope, I didn't have any trouble at all. Your instructions were perfect, no problem finding the place. Even if you did have problems finding the place, you should never say that, because, hey, if you can't find your way to the building, how can they trust you with other problems that they might hire you for? So it may not seem like an actual interview question, but you're probably going to get this, and I'm not sure if in the context of when you're having your interview it actually is an innocent question by someone, or maybe it's a real question, you don't know. But when you walk through that door, you are on. There's never a point between, hey, I'm still relaxed in myself and comfortable, the interview hasn't started. That's not true. You're in that parking lot or you're in that elevator, you walk through for that interview, you are on from that moment. In fact, when you walk in the building, you are on, because you don't know who you're going to meet in the stairway, in the lobby, in the elevator. Could be someone who eventually is going to actually be part of your interview. So you want to be aware of any question that comes at you as you're in the building. Just consider it, and you don't have to be rigid or robotic or anything like that, but did you have any trouble finding the place? Nope, none whatsoever. Your instructions were great. Thank you so much. All right, so be aware of that. Before the interview starts, they may say to you, or the person sitting you down, or the first person you meet might say to you, would you like water or coffee or tea, or would you like to go to the restroom? Here you really need to ask yourself, do I need to go to the restroom? If you need to go to the restroom, you should totally go. If you have to go to the bathroom before the interview, you're going to be uncomfortable and you're going to be dealing with factors from multiple levels that you don't really want to deal with. So if you need to go to the bathroom before the interview, go. It's okay to do that. Say, yes, I'd like to use the restroom, please. Go, get that out of the way, and then you don't have to worry about that, okay? If you want water or tea or coffee, say yes. I highly recommend saying yes to the water, because what you're going to be doing during the interview is talking a lot about yourself. You might be nervous, you might get dry mouth, you may have a coughing fit, you may get any number of different things. Have the water. If they offer you bottled water or a glass of water, whatever it is, take it. And drink that during the interview. Don't be afraid to reach down during the interview process and drink the water, right? So they're watching all these things. They don't want you to be paralyzed with fear or rigid or robotic. So, you have to be a normal human being, but a professional at the same time. We have bodies and we need water, and you need to be comfortable. So yeah, go for the water. Okay, so that's interview question number 1, which might not seem like an interview question. We can call that interview question 0 if you want. The next real formal interview question that people typically start out with as sort of an icebreaker or to kick things off is the following. Tell me a little about yourself. You may get this question, and you need to be prepared for this question. So they're not asking you to tell them about your place of birth, where you grew up, where you went to grammar school, if you've traveled the world, whether you like to cook, if you're married. They're not asking that. When they say to you, tell me a little bit about yourself, they're asking you about your career history. Now, if you're just out of college and you don't have a career history, then you would say, well, I just graduated from the following college. I did an internship during the summer, and I'm very excited about being here to talk to you about this opportunity. See what I did? I flipped the question back on them at the end there by saying, I'm very interested in being here to talk to you today about this opportunity that you have. Because you don't have much to say if you're just getting out of college. You want to give them what you have, but you don't actually have a career history at that point, so you kind of have to keep that answer short. By the way, you should keep all of your answers relatively short, unless you feel that it's more like a conversation, and I'll get to that in a minute. Now, let's say they ask you the question, tell me a little bit about yourself, and you do have a career history. Maybe you've been in the workforce 5, 10, 15 years, and you have had a series of jobs leading up to this interview. You would want to summarize that for them. You would want to say something along the lines of, well, I had a series of jobs where I had the opportunities to do the following. I had the opportunities to really dive into great projects. I had the opportunities to be part of some really fantastic teams. I had the opportunities to overcome some great challenges on great teams. All of your past working experiences should be packaged and positioned as positives, not negatives. And all of those working experiences should be packaged in a way such as they're sort of stepping stones that led you to this interview today. Now, if you don't have a current job, if you've been laid off, you need to be mindful of them possibly asking you your current status. So if you're currently working and they ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself, you want to bring them in a timeline up to the point where you are now. You don't want to make it a long-winded answer, but you want to say, well, through the course of my career trajectory, I've had the opportunity to do the following things. And you would list those things kind of quickly in bullet points. And then you would say, it's been an excellent experience thus far, and I'm excited about talking about the next part of my career, and I'm really happy to be here with you today and talk about this opportunity that you have. So that's really the way you want to answer that question. Tell me a little bit about yourself is tell me a little bit about your career. Okay, so the next question that you might get in a job interview is really kind of sinister. It has a two-part to the question. The first part is always, tell me about a time, ... right? And the end of that sentence could be one of a number of different things. Tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult client. Tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult colleague. Tell me about a time when you disagreed with your manager. So those are legitimate questions that you might be asked. And you really do need to be prepared to answer these questions. Each one of them has an answer that involves the word opportunity. So you need to find a way to put that word opportunity in your answer. Here's an example. Tell me about a time when you had a difficult client to deal with, or an angry client. And then they'll stop and they'll wait for your response. The answer will be something along the lines, well, I have in the past had a number of clients who were angry, and they came to me with their anger. The first thing I did for them was I listened. And the person who's asked you that question is going to say, you listened. Wow, that's great. So you want to put that in there. The first thing you did with a difficult client was you listened. You listened to where they are. You listened to why they were angry. The client may be having an emotional response. They're angry, they're upset about something, and they've come to you to help them, or they just want to vent. So you say, the first thing I do is I listen, and I understand the client's pain points. And once I understand the client's pain points, I begin to formulate a response that will help them. I see these challenges as an opportunity for us to take a client who's having a negative experience and win them over and help bring them to a positive experience. Therefore, we get to keep that client long term. So that's the answer to the question, tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult client. You listened, you understood the pain points, and you flipped it around from a negative to an opportunity. That's the answer to that interview question. Whether or not it ever happened, you just want to focus on the answer to that question. Okay, the last question that I'm going to talk about today is a question that you're probably going to get at the end of the interview. Now, you might be meeting with one person or two people or three people or even more. So as you go through the interview, you might be there for a number of hours. In between people interviewing you, make sure if you need to go to the restroom, again, say, could I please go to the restroom? Or could I please have a drink of water? I would also, I'm going to interject here, shut your cell phone off. Do not pick out don't touch your cell phone when you're in the interview with people. All right, last question you're probably going to get from people who are interviewing you is the following. They're going to ask you, do you have any questions for me? You never ever want to say, no, I don't. You need to prepare for this question. Do you have any questions for me? You want to do your research before you go to the job interview, and you want to write down and keep in mind some questions that you might ask to any of the people who are going to interview you. It's okay to have that in a binder and read the questions off if you can't do it from the top of your mind. That's fine. But what most people are looking for when they ask you that question is, are you engaged with what we're trying to do here? Are you interested in this company? Are you interested in this position? Are you interested in more than what we talked about here today? The answer should be yes, and you should have done some homework to ask a question. Even if you think that the question is sort of not that good or, not really in line with, you have to just ask a question to make sure that you ask something. But again, I would caution you, don't ask just for the sake of asking. You really want to do your homework here and ask a question that applies to the job or to the role you're in. Don't ask the person a question about themselves. Say, can you give me a little bit more insight into day-to-day operations of this role? That's a great question to ask someone, because they're going to interview you, but they're kind of looking at a number of different things. They're looking at your personality to see if you're a good fit. They want to know if you showed up on time for the interview, all those things. And they're in the middle of their work day and they had to interrupt themselves to come down and interview you. So they're kind of, thinking about other things. But you want to show them that you are interested in being part of their team. So this question, do you have any questions for me, really is a question that they're asking you, can you convince me that you and I on some level are like-minded in the area of getting this work done? So the three questions that I'm covering in this video are, did you have any trouble finding the place? The answer is no. Your instructions were great. The next question is, tell me a little bit about yourself. And the last question you'll probably encounter will be, do you have any questions for me? So I hope this video helped you out. The long and the short of it is here, this last part of this video that I'm going to give you is that you're going into a job interview to help them with a need. Don't think of it as you're under a microscope or you're on trial or you've done something wrong. be strong, be confident, be understanding that they have a need and you have the solution to that need. And that's the way you should position it. You should have that confidence coming off of you. Yes, you should go in a business suit no matter what. Wear a tie. If it's in the corporate world, wear a suit. It's better to go ahead and do that than not. Be comfortable. Don't seize up. Breathe. Make sure you've eaten something before you go. Make sure you've had water. Make sure you're comfortable. Try to get a good night's sleep. And do your research on the team that's going to interview you. You can find these people on LinkedIn. You can find them on the website if they're listed on the About Us section. Do a little research on them without being, too creepy or anything like that. You don't have to say, hey, I looked you up, and don't do any of that. But understand that you are going into this situation because they are looking for someone that they need in that role, and you are that person. So the interview questions are a little tricky, but part of what they're looking for is, are you a good fit personality-wise with the team who's going to hire you, right? So you need to kind of be the real person that you are, but at the same time, they're going to hit that ball to you and you need to hit it back, right? That is in the form of the questions they're going to ask you. You need to be able to have good, solid, confident answers. Did you have any trouble finding the place? No, I did not. Tell me a little bit about yourself. This is your career trajectory. This is what you did in your career. It led you here. You're excited about this interview and about the possibility of this opportunity. Do you have any questions for me? Yes, I was wondering about the following. Tell me where this team is. Is it growing? What kind of responsibilities is the team taking on? Where does the team fit in the corporate structure? Are we dealing with other teams around the world who are in different cultures, different time zones? Things like that. What kind of tools is the team currently using? Open a dialogue like that with them. And if the person leaves the room without saying to you, do you have any questions for me? That's okay, you're kind of off the hook. If in fact you do have a question for them, you could certainly ask them. But all right, that takes care of this video. Do me a favor, if there are questions that you've had on job interviews that you would like me to answer, I'll give that a shot. You can put it down in the comments. I'd like to do a series of videos on these. I've had a number of interviews in my career. And I want to help you get through these interviews. Not getting a job because you can't get through the interview is just unacceptable. So let's work on that together. Also, if you got something out of this, you want to become part of the Vox Pictoria family, click that subscribe button, click on like. I'd be grateful. All right, people, take care of one another. Stay strong. Keep your head up. You're doing great. I'm very proud of you. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.